But
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, and I think in his case, it's kind of it's just a moral thing. You know what I mean? It's kind of like I think back to Michael Jackson. You know, people loved Michael Jackson, but when that whole trial happened, people were not on Team Michael,
some people
and
were
it wasn't
turning.
until he died that people were supporting his music and would play his music and were Team MJ. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's kind of like at the time before he passed away, people saw him as that. They didn't see the legacy of music he left behind, even though he was proved not guilty. So it's I think we're wired that way. I don't think it's something that you can separate.
I don't know. I can't. I'm not wired that way
When it
because
comes to
I'm an
reputation,
alien.
when it comes to reputation. Now, when it comes to acting or something like that, I think that's completely different. It's what's fair and yada yada yada. But as far as reputation goes,
Well, yeah. I mean, a person's reputation is all based on what they do, and that's period. So
exactly.
that's of course different. But who the hell is Janelle Monae? I'm sorry who that is either.
Are
Gets
you
no,
serious?
I'm sorry. I told you I'm old. I don't know
Okay,
who that
but
is.
before we go to that, I also want to say that Bill Cosby also created, and I think he had written a few episodes for A Different World, so I want to say that as well. But as far as Janelle Monae,
Singer.
Janelle Monae she's an R&B. It's kind of like a R&B pop. She does, I guess you could say mixture of like R&B and
Oh, I
pop.
know who she is. I see her picture now. I know who
Yeah,
she
she
is.
wears the suits
Yeah, they
and
got the like
the
the
braid.
pompadour hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh huh.
So she was performing on the Today Show, promoting her album. I'm assuming, and towards the end, the Today Show is taped live, of course.
Right.
And towards the end of one of her songs, she was speaking out about police brutality. She didn't
Mhm.
necessarily bring anything up about race
Yeah.
or anything
Right.
like that. She just said that we really need to take a stand about what's going on and yada yada yada. And as soon as she started her rant about the police brutality situation,
Hmm.
they just come in and just cut her off and just like you
Go to
know
commercial.
let's let when jumping up let's give it up for Janelle Monae and let's go
Oh,
we back after these messages. Like they just cut her off and I'm like, really?
They just I don't think it was a black or white thing. I think it's just a controversy thing.
yeah, and
Yeah,
the
yeah.
network is scared as hell because they do not want to pay those advertisers, man.
No, they
It's what it
don't.
is. I mean, that
Yeah.
is what it
I mean,
is.
I think they should have let her speak because I'm all for that. But
Hmm.
I think it's more about them just being afraid of what she was
Yeah,
going to
it
say.
wasn't anything race because she didn't say anything about race. She was just
Yeah,
talking about just the situation that's been going on lately, and
which
they
needs
just cut her off.
which needs public attention. I mean,
Right.
things that happen and people just it's all a big deal, then all of a sudden it just fades away. It's still an issue
Right.
that should be addressed. And so I'm glad that she did that. That's good. Good for her.
But I don't. I mean, I haven't seen the clip, so I don't know. But you got to remember the hosts are doing their job too, and they're being told something by producers in their ear.
Yeah.
So I also think it's important that we don't put the blame there because they're doing their job. You
Yeah,
know what I
Oh no,
mean?
I'm not
think he's
blaming
I
the
don't think
host or
he's
anything
blaming
like
them
that.
either. He's just mentioning it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
I'm not blaming the hosts. I know the hosts are going off of what producers are saying in their ear or whatever the case may be. But I was just like, okay, well, I guess.
Yeah. It's sad. I think that's a big issue right now that society is talking about that media is not talking about.
yeah, I agree. I agree, and that's what's wrong.
Yeah,
That's
that
what's
is
wrong with
what's wrong.
America. That's what's wrong. I'm
Exactly.
sorry. And don't even get me started on politics. One day, all three of us are having a political show, and you're just gonna see me go off. Okay. Okay. Now,
I'm okay with that.
okay, good. Morgan Freeman's granddaughters is that. What the hell happened there?
Well, okay. Well, see, this is still a developing story, so details are still coming out. But the only thing that we have found out so far is that Morgan Freeman's granddaughter, which her name is Adina Hines, I hope I'm saying her first name correctly,
Sounds right.
was stabbed to death in New York City,
Hmm.
and they found some guy standing over her, ranting some religious shit or
Ooh.
whatever the case may be. It turns out later that it turned out to be her boyfriend, or not her. I think it was a boyfriend or either her ex boy. No, it was her boyfriend.
Uh huh.
His name is Lamar Davenport,
Hmm.
and he's been charged with second-degree murder. They really don't know what led up to that or what made him snap and
Right.
just stab her to death. So
It's so scary because you can be with someone and think you know them and love them and know them
Hmm.
intimately and not know them at all. It's
Hmm.
or she could have been staying if this is what happened. Stayed with him in an abusive relationship, and this is the final straw. I just think it's so sad. That's horrible. That's really sad.
Yeah, they were saying that a witness, I guess someone witnessed it from a distance, and they saw her boyfriend stabbing her.
Was it in her apartment or on the street or something?
On the street. It was
on the street. Yeah.
Wow.
And he was yelling, "Devil be gone."
But it was on the upper west side, if you know
That's a very nice area.
Yeah, on the upper west side.
A lot of Jewish
I want to
people.
say like 120th, so maybe almost to Harlem.
Yeah, well, that's like near Columbia, I think.
So.
Wow, that's crazy.
I want to say right, yeah.
Yeah,
wow.
So he was yelling "Devil be gone" while he was stabbing her. I don't know what that's all about, but it's still developing. So
tell me about the Straight Outta Compton review, because I want to know.
Yeah,
I actually, have a fleeting interest in this movie. So tell us about that.
So, as everyone knows, for weeks now they've been promoting the hell out of Straight Outta Compton. It's been on billboards, TV, internet, social media. I mean, everywhere you go.
And by the way, the soundtrack was like #1 in iTunes or something the past week.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes. So I went to the movies on Sunday. Went opening weekend, and it's a really good movie. I will say this.
Hold on. Will you tell us what it's about, just so we're all...
Yeah, why don't you fill us in?
Sorry.
It's about What's-His-Face's life.
We just assume we all know.
Yeah.
Okay. So during the late 80s, early 90s, there was a group that formed that was with Ice Cube, the DOC, Dr. Dre, Eazy-E, and someone else I can't think of the name of right now. And they performed this, they came together as a group, and they were mainly speaking about things that were going on. Let me back up. They performed, they became a rap group.
Right.
And they, mainly were just rapping about things that was going on, because they were all from Compton.
They were rapping about their lives.
Exactly. They were talking about things that were going on, because, they were rapping about police brutality and just issues that were going on in everyday lives of, in the hood. In the hood, pretty much. So what happened was, as they became together, they was founded by a manager found them, rather.
Which is Jimmy Iovine, right?
I think so, yeah. Signed them to a label, and they became big. So, when they became big, they were trying to come up with a name for themselves, I guess in the process of becoming big. And, so they was like, well, what should we call ourselves? And, they were tossing around a few names, and then nothing really was clicking, or the case may be. And I think Ice Cube, if I could be wrong, but I think Ice Cube was the one that came up with the name for them, which is NWA, which is Niggas with Attitude.
Okay.
So they went along with that, and they were just known as NWA.
That I never knew that's what that stood for.
Yeah. You didn't know that?
I am not from the hood, darling. I'm sorry. I don't know. No, go ahead.
So yeah, it means niggas with attitude.
Okay.
So they come out with, all of these hits. They came out with, just numerous #1 hits. But then also, the main thing that really gave them stardom, but yet a lot of controversy, they came out with a single called "Fuck the Police."
Right.
Oh, I do know that. Yes, I knew.
Everyone
yes.
knows that song.
Yeah. So when they came up with that song, it caused like this. It became like a #1 single, but it also became like this huge controversy.
Yes, it did.
Because they were just like, they were promoting, violence against police officers and killings.
But let me just interject. You have to look at it from their perspective, though, and that song's from their perspective and from the lives that they led and where they lived and how they were treated by the police.
Exactly. So that was their response to it. But you also remember that the people that, was making this big controversy, this was coming from mainly white stream America.
Right.
White
stream America.
Sorry, mainstream white America. That's what I was trying to say. Sorry. So yeah, but it was just one of those things, and they were just like, well, we're just, telling our story based on what we've been through and that type of thing, but white America wasn't having it.
But that's the thing about art. That's art.
What was that?
That's art. Art you talk about, it reflects your life and who you are.
Exactly. So, going over into the movie, there was a scene where they were performing in Detroit, I believe, and the police officers actually pulled them back. Well, before they performed, they were backstage, and they said, "Well, when you're on stage, you can't sing about this. You can't sing, anything. You can't sing anything
Right.
from the police or anything like that." And they said that if you do, you will be arrested.
That's the same thing that happened to Madonna in Detroit. Yep.
Come on, Blonde Ambition tour.
Same thing happened to Madonna. Go ahead.
Really?
Yes, because Detroit has this morals law or something about saying certain things in public and like certain gyrations or certain kind of words, and that's why. So the same thing happened to her as happened to them. Yeah. Go ahead.
I didn't know that. So they went on stage and they performed the song anyway.
That's what she said. She said, "Fuck, I'm doing my show anyway." Go ahead.
Exactly. And so they performed the song, and when they performed the song in the movie, you can see the police officer kind of like moving towards the stage, or the case may be. And not sure what happened in the movie, but I think the police purposely fired some rounds in the audience just to kind of get them to run off the stage, or the case may be.
Right.
And pretty much arrested them and charged them with whatever charge there is for doing something like that, and took them off to jail. And they were still cheering, and it was kind of funny. They were still kind of cheering off.
But ultimately, they end up being very successful, famous rappers, and all that.
So tell us 3 things you really liked about the movie. Why we should go see it.
It was dead on. The acting is extremely good.
Okay, good acting.
Very good acting. Everyone looks pretty much like the rappers.
Okay, production value, 3rd.
Yes,
unlike Aaliyah. Go ahead.
Exactly. And let's see, my 3rd would be the soundtrack. The soundtrack. Okay. They have an amazing soundtrack.
So did they use the original music or did they re-record?
No, original music.
Original music.
Nice.
Okay. How long?
The movie is about 2.5 hours.
Wow, really?
Yeah, it's about 2.5 hours.
I'm gonna have to wait till that comes on Netflix.
But it's really, really good.
I see that at the studio movie girl, so I get margaritas going.
Yeah, yes. The movie is really, really good. Everyone looks the same. Ice Cube's son, O'Shea Jackson, O'Shea Jackson plays Ice Cube in the movie.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
He looks just like him in the movie. I mean, Eazy-E looks just like Eazy-E.
Okay.
Dr. Dre, the guy that plays Dr. Dre, looks just like him. The only person that was in the movie that did not look pretty much like anyone, in my opinion, they had a guy who played Snoop Dogg. The guy had the height. He was tall like Snoop Dogg.
But his face wasn't long.
And he sounded like Snoop Dogg, but he just didn't just really didn't look like him.
And that's okay. It's a movie.
But it was okay. But everyone else was pretty much, when it comes to the looks, it was like to a T.
What?
So, but without giving me too much information, like does it end in modern time, or does it end like at the end of their era, or like where do we end at? Like, do we watch them die? Like,
no, well, I don't want to spoil it, but
just give me like a what am I timeline? Timeline.
Well, pretty much it pretty much goes from people begin to leave. They were all united as one group under one label. And of course, you have to watch the movie, but there are a lot of people begin to have differences with money and that type of thing, and people begin to leave the group. I don't want to say because I don't want to spoil the movie.
Right.
And then people ventured out and did their own thing and came out with disc records and started a label, that type of thing. You just have to watch though. Like, I would actually pay to go watch it again. Like, it was that good.
Wow.
Okay.
Well, I haven't heard.
And opening weekend, I think they made $60.1 million.
Yeah, they did really well. Really well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
it's a really good movie. It's really good.
I'll definitely watch it when it comes on Apple TV.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go see it
because it's so long, 2.5 hours. I'm like,
yeah, it's 2.5 hours. It's a long.
I'm gonna do a solo date and go see it by myself.
Okay.
I went to Studio Movie Grill and I had a margarita and some chicken tenders and I had a.
Okay. That's what I get.
Yes.
All right. Well. Okay, guys. Well, that's all for tonight's show. We're going to be back. By the way, everybody, if you're listening to the show, be sure to check out GayXYZ.com. And be sure to listen to the show in the archives. If you're listening to the archives, you're listening to it in the archives. But if you can listen to it live every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Central with Christian and Jason and myself, Donovan. And Christian's website is
ChristianAlexanderFashion.com. And I just updated it yesterday, so I got a new cheap chic look on there, a little bit of high-low fashion, so go check that out if you're into it.
I'm going to check it out right after this. And my show...
ChristianAlexanderFashion.com.
Yes, my show's at offlimitshow.com. And Jason, you can reach him on Twitter at...
Jason B. Like. It is Jason_BBE_like.
And we'll be back next week with a whole new show, whole new topics, and a lot